Hello there. Welcome back to the Vintage SMP. Hope you're having a wonderful day. As you can see, it is spring. Granted, it is now late spring, but we have finally gotten back on the server, and I just went about setting up our first little farm field. Most of my soil around here is low fertility, so I had to go out and find some medium fertility so we can actually, grow stuff in a reasonable time. But yes, we've got a nice little farm field here. Flax, rye, spelt, ton of turnips, and some carrots. And of course, we've got a whole bunch of berries, which is going to be very useful because, as I mentioned, I haven't yet decided if I'm going to go with the yellow wattle and daub or the pastel from the palette from QP's chisel tools. And well, to make the palette, we're going to need a stack of berries per palette, and each palette gives you 150 uses, so we're going to need a couple pallets if we're going to end up using the pastel for the entire house. So I'm going to need to gather up a whole lot of berries to make a whole lot of pallets. But what I wanted to do was I made up some glass before the end of last episode. Made a bloomery, fired a glass, and that means we can now make the cooling cabinet. Yes, the cooling cabinet. But to make that, we're going to need a couple shelves. Oh, I need my saw. And a bunch of boards. Yep, we need 3 of those. And I need to check the recipe because I can't remember what it is. 16 boards, 2 polished stone. Okay. Polished stone and 2 glass. Oh, well, we do have the quarry mod. What was it that needed to do to make a polished rock is... I can't tell what that tool is. It looks like it is the finishing chisel. Yes, so that takes a finishing chisel head. I can make that up quickly. I have a bit of extra bronze set aside. Now, the other question, can I use sandstone to make the cooling cabinet? Yes, I can use the polished sandstone, so that's what I'm going to do quickly here. Okay, that was easy enough. And then we just... Right, hammer in the offhand. There we go. Now we've got some polished sandstone. Okay, so sandstone, glass, shelves. I think those went there, and then boards everywhere else. Yes, and that gives us the cooling cabinet. Food stored in the cabinet stays fresh 25% longer or up to 70% longer with ice. Okay. We have no room. Display segment 8, 0. Okay. Stored food perishes at 0.2. So it is the same as vegetables in that. So, okay, let's check. That's 105 days in there. Item cannot be placed. Oh, so I can't put raw food into the cooling cabinet. I imagine. Oh. That is cool. So, shift and right click to open and close. So we cannot add raw food like the turnips to the storage cabinet. That makes a bit of sense. I guess it's mostly going to be just finished food. So crock pots and bread. If we look at this, you see there's the icon there under shift. It's got bread, cycling through, muffins, probably raw dough would fit. And then to pick it up, we can probably just break it with a axe. All right, so that's going to be very useful. We don't have anything to store in it right now. I'm going to have to keep using vessels, I guess, for storing our raw goods. But now we can get back to working on Bag's End. And I gotta go see about finding some Copic trees. I know I had a Copic seed. I have at least one, I think. Yeah, I've got one Copic seed. We're gonna need a lot more than that, but we can at least get started growing a Copic tree. Since I did want to try to use Copic as the floor and runners on Bag's End here, we're gonna have to go out and find more Copic trees because I'm not gonna wait for one tree to grow to do all the housework. Have I mentioned how much I love the chisel tool mod? Does this look familiar? I can pull the arches I made in my single player world and apply them in the multiplayer world. So we're going to start building the foyer over here for Bag's End, and it is let's see, 1 2 3 4 5 6, so technically 7 blocks wide, right? Right now that is a 5 block wide area, so I'm going to adjust it a little bit, but yeah, like expand it out a bit more, slope it in a bit more, but I can use the arches I made in one world in this world. It's awesome. I just need to figure out what I have to do to adjust that to turn it from, remember, in a single player world, it's a 2x2 arch. Right now I made it a 5 wide arch. I do need to make it 7, which means this needs to slant up even more, but I can keep the pattern. All I need to really do is add 2 more, move these over, add 2 more of these rammed dirt, turn them into half like I have here, and then just sort of continue the arch shape up, and then it will be a 7 wide. And then we can sort of mirror it on the bottom and have the arches come back in. So this is going to be almost like a giant oval, but with a floor here, so that the bottom portion of the oval or the cylinder is flat. Because ideally it's going to slope, ideally it's going to slope in like that, right? So if that's the bottom, then the top, okay, it's going to have to be taller than that. But we put it up there, right? We can get rid of that one. I should just grab a shovel. Take that off. And then we're going to bring it across. Bring that up. And now, okay, so if this is going to be 7 wide. Well, you know what? You know what? Let's do 2, right? This whole point of this right now is to figure out what looks better. So if I want this to be 5 wide over here, because it's going to be sloped in, so it's not going to be, you know, as tight as it might look. But yeah, the whole point of this is to test out the design and see what looks best. So might as well just do it a couple different ways, right? Okay, so if that's 5 wide, and mind you, the floor is down here, so that might be big enough. All right, so let's grab that arch there and there, and then rotate. This one's easy enough. We just cut that down, grab that one, put that there, and rotate again. And then why don't we, oh, I don't know if I can. I was going to say, why don't we grab this, place it here, and then flip it, but I don't, yeah, we can't flip it the way I was thinking. I'll just have to, you know, 1 for 1, add the chisel down here, remove it up there, and just sort of manually flip it, because we cannot rotate we can rotate, we can flip, we can't mirror. That's the word I'm looking for. We can't mirror it. But then if we do that, and then we can grab... That actually might be too tall. But you know what? I think this is too big. I think this is going to be perfect once it's a little evened out. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, if I do a half slab here instead, right? Do that, and then make that one that, but flipped. It will then go right into the floor, and that might work out better, and I think that's perfect. I think that's going to work. Okay, good. We've got the shape down. That means we do have a bit extra wall over here, but that's fine because I can always use that to, well, first off, well, I was going to say to make sure it's insulated, but this is a half slab, so that's going to be insulated just fine. But that means I have room to work stuff in over here without having to sort of be tight, you know? I think this is going to work perfectly fine. There we go. Got it flipped. So if we put it over here also and rotate. I did miss that block up there. Just need to chip out that. Copy, paste, rotate. Oh, there we go. Yes, that's going to work perfectly, I think. And then what we can do, as I said, is I'm going to make this run down the length of the hall. And then on this side, or at least this side here, forget the middle block, we're going to do it with wattle and daub, so we can see what that looks like. And this side, we can apply the paint from the palette, which I just made up too, so I can get rid of some, what are they called? Cranberries, because I don't want those rotting on me. I mean, it's not a huge concern if they rot, because then I get more compost, but yeah. And so let's go over here. We're going to want to grab the pastel, which is this one, right before you start getting into the Art Mars, Art Burnt Sandstone. So pastel, and we're going to apply it to these. So that's the pastel look. And what we'll do is when I get the wood I want, we're going to cut this in half right here. And from that point down is going to be wood. And that point up is pastel. And over here, from this point down is again wood. And that up is going to be wattle and daub. They changed the moon. It's now an actual orb and not a square. Yeah, that looks cool. I like that. Back to this. Yes. I'm happy. Let's see about getting the wattle and daub up, and then we can compare those. So I thought I was going to have to go out hunting, but I have everything I need to make the yellow royal daub. So we're going to want 4 blocks worth of daub, and I think let's make 1, because I don't remember how much daub I need per block. Oh. Let's find out. So it's 1, 2, 3. Oh, it takes 8 to do it 3 times. Right, okay, so we're going to need a fair bit of daub. How did I get the recipe right the first time and then wrong the second time? Right, okay, so it's going to take 8, and we need... So it takes 8 each. And we need 4, so I'm going to need 32 should be enough. Oh, I made too much. Doesn't matter. Let's grab our pick. Clean this up. Let's sleep through the night so you guys can see. And then get to seeing how this looks. Okay, let's pick these up. that, and that. And then we're going to want to go back to this. We want to make sure we're set to shape only. Okay, so off the bat, I think the pastel looks better. I'm going to reserve judgment, like I said, until I have the wood I want. We're going, like I said, use Copic with black stain. So I gotta wait for the single Copic tree I planted to grow and go find more Copic seeds or Copic wood. But then I'm going to finish out this entire hallway. We're going to continue this through the entire hallway, see how that looks. 2 notes. If we use the pastel, then I can use any block. So I have a good amount of lumber. I have a good amount of wood around here. I can make wood through the wall in, honestly, a hodgepodge of different woods. I can use birch, I can use oak, I can use maple. Just do the entire wall on this side out of whatever block we have, and then apply the pastel, and you won't be able to tell the difference. It's all going to look the same. Wattle and daub all has to be the same wattle and daub. But I'm leaning towards the pastel for now. We'll have to wait till I'm done to see which one looks best. And then, as I was saying with Super, who is Digby, by the way, before he logged out, is we're going to use the new door tool from QP Chisel Tools. QP made a door tool, so now I have another tool I have to make. Once we make this, we can actually make the circular hobbit doors for getting in and out of the house, and possibly for some of the rooms. I know there was a hobbit door, a circular door here, and I think there was one on the study. There was definitely one to the pantry. That was one. I don't know if there was one for the kitchen. And there was one over here also. So yeah, we're going to be making some circular hobbit doors using the chisel tool mod to make some special doors. Here's something new. When you defeat Bowtorn, you get bow and arrows. They're not very good. Well, they're no... Well, they're about on par with a copper arrow, though they've got a higher break point. Or they break more often. But yeah, that's new to 1.21. And here's what I've done so far. I did put wood on the bottom because there's going to be wood halfway up. Might as well see how it looks with the wood. I think I'm going to go with the pastel. The wattle and daub does not look bad. And if you are playing with purely vanilla and you don't have chisel tool mod, well, getting the arch is going to be a pain in the butt. But the wattle and daub would be perfectly sufficient, I feel. But I think the pastel just works a little bit better and it looks a little bit cleaner. And I think that's going to make the difference. So, now that we've got the idea, I can continue down the hallway here. This is... Whoa! Was not expecting that guy to pop up out of nowhere. Getting these corners, and then, I mean, this is not an even shape. I mean, this is much wider here than this hallway is here. So I might be adjusting this a bit to make this hallway here be the same width as this hallway, which means shrinking it a little bit, but that shouldn't be too much of an issue. And it does have these bends, and I will try to recreate those bends as best as possible. It's going to take a little bit of finagling with the chiseling. I think it'll look good. I think this will work. I need to get myself some more tools. I've got a fair bit of copper. I've got a fair bit of bronze, not bronze, cassiterite. I am opening the wrong things. I've got a fair bit of cassiterite here. I've got a fair bit of copper, so I'm good on bronze, but what I really want to do is go get myself some iron. Make myself an iron anvil, and then I've got a meteor that I know is there. There might be a meteor there, and I'll keep an eye out for any other meteors. I did mark 1 or 2 others. I don't know if anyone else has gotten them yet. I don't know if anyone is up to the Iron Age yet. But yes, I want to see if I can get myself some meteoric iron tools up and running, so I don't have to worry about the low durability of bronze. That way I can build this whole thing without too much issue, because I think I'm going to be using a saw and an axe a lot to get the planks, because if I'm using the pastel, it doesn't matter what block I use. I could use packed dirt, but getting dirt is a pain in the butt. Getting logs is a bit easier since they literally grow on trees. But also, I mean, we're going to have a lot of dirt in this build anyway. I'm going to have to fill in a lot of this with dirt. Over the top of this build is going to be dirt, and also some sod roofing in some locations. Not everywhere, but over a fair bit. So if we're going to be using a lot of dirt on the outside of the build, and dirt's a pain to collect, I might as well try to limit the amount of dirt I'm using in the build. And like I said, wood literally grows on trees. And that has been there for about 3 days now. Got my butt kicked a little bit, but we've got bountiful iron ore. And we're actually right under our base. So this is perfect. We're going to need a fair bit of iron. I think it's 9 ingots? Yeah, it's 9 ingots for an anvil. Or is it 10 now? Doesn't matter. We will die. You died. 27 minutes in game before you're... Yeah, okay. We have a mod that allows you to revive each other, I believe. But I'm the only one online right now. Anyway, so yeah, there is iron right under my base. That's good. Oh, yeah. We've got some buildings going up in our spawn village area. We've got this, which is going to be a pub. So we'll check that out in the future. And I think Digby was building this one. So yeah, we're going to have a couple different spawn houses in addition to everyone's personal base. Maybe in addition to the starter log cabin I have, I'll build a small hobbit hut in spawn also, just to sort of keep with the theme. Anyway, you saw, I found iron. I'm gonna go collect myself for my droppings and try to collect all the iron I can there. I've got some fire clay already, fire clay bricks, so I can make a bloomery as soon as I do. And I will get right to making an iron anvil. Because like I said, then I'll be able to make a iron pickaxe, start collecting the meteoric iron, and make myself some meteoric iron tools and armor. Which will make survivability much better, because again, no armor. And in a minute, we'll be in the Iron Age, officially. Boy, I've made a lot of progress game-wise. I haven't really made much progress house-wise. Although, to be fair, I had about 20 drifters trying to break down my door while crafting up the iron anvil. So, I really wasn't going to be going outside while under siege. I think it's hot enough now. I'm going to wait till it's 800. Yep, there we go. Now I can put that down. I've got some borax. Put that down. Take our anvil. Hammer, not anvil. We're hammering the anvil. Voila! We're done. Means we can get rid of this. Swap them over. Thankfully, you can carry multiple anvils in this game, unlike Terra Firma Craft, where if you pick up a second anvil, you weigh 100,000 tons, and you cannot move. What am I looking for? That's my chisel tool. Chisel. I don't have a regular chisel. I was going to turn this anvil into more bronze, but I don't have the normal chisel, so it can wait. There we go. Iron Age. As you saw, I do have an iron hammer now, because the 2 bronze hammers I had broke in the process of making the 1 iron anvil. We've got some extra tin bronze there. I have plenty of hematite left over. I do not have any more iron ingots, however. I used them all for the anvil and the hammer. But we have, like I said, plenty of iron. It's right there under our base. I've got a little path there to get to it. So I might build a shaft right above where that is so that I can get to it easier and not have to go through a bunch of tunnels and fight a bunch of nasties in the process of getting to it. There we go. We're in the Iron Age. I can make an iron pick. I can get the meteoric iron, and then I can really start focusing on that because we've got our first Copic tree, which means we can start making the floors. And I've been making, well, I made the gray dye. I need to make the black dye still. I'm going to need to get some more scrap metal, or I have to use rusty gears. And I don't feel like using rusty gears to make black dye, so we're going to go find more scrap metal to turn the gray dye into black dye. But, oh, how you like the falcon emblem I found? Yeah, it's pretty cool. Alright, but that's going to be it for today. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you've had a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Later.